It has not been called off. Okay. Let's see. Do we have a stream? Good old Facebook and their crummy software. Everything was looking good on my end. You guys, can you hear me now? Can you let me go back to a visual. Okay. Can you see me? Can you hear me? Good old YouTube, man. They always manage to jack things around. And I've got a wicked fast data connection. And so according to Dale Rogers' response is yay, I'm assuming that we now have visual and audio. Good morning, Gentry. Nice to have you, sir. So let me go back to the top, because I'm not sure when the stream was cut. You know, I don't know if that's just a software thing or if that's intentional on some people's part. But let me show you something that many of you are familiar with. If you didn't see it, I don't know when the stream was cut. So if I'm showing this again and you're bored, okay, thank you, Don, loud and clear. Here's the goblin. Now that is a very famous classic anomaly from the early days of Curiosity. I think it was Sol 184. And as you can see, that thing is really pretty amazing. So anyway, Inhabit Mars is here. I hope you're feeling better, my friend. You've been really going through the ringer. And my prayers have been with you. Hope you're doing better and on the mend and maybe even back home by now. That'd be great. Well, anyway, the goblin that I showed you there's a fella in Texas, Kim Carrier, who creates these anomalies in 3D by modeling them. He also uses, once he has a good model, he uses 3D printing and also CAD-CAM sculpting of stainless steel. Some of the anomalies he does are polished to a mirror finish, and I'm sure they're beautiful. But he sent me an example. And here it is, the goblin. And you can see that it has its own nameplate, and it's made of stone. This thing weighs like 10 pounds. I'm not kidding. Super high quality stuff. And what's cool that he puts on the back, let me get it so it's working right. Here we go. He's got the link engraved in brass on back, so the average person can just type it in there and go right to the image. So that's a very cool thing, and I thank you, Kim, for that nice little treasure there. He doesn't have his website up yet, but when he does, I will be sharing it with you, because he'll be offering all his various models for sale. And normally he goes to some of the local conferences in Texas and puts up a table, and he sells the things like hotcakes. So as soon as he has that up, well, I'll be sharing that with you. And let me make another announcement. Ta-da! The book is ready. Yay! Here it is. Martian Archaeology in Stereographic X3D. This is a 8 by 10.5 book with super high quality eggshell paper in it. You'll love the paper. I'm into paper. I used to be an advertising director at a magazine, so I had to know papers. And I spent a whole bunch of money getting some really nice, I think it's like 80-pound eggshell. I'd have to look back at the stats on it. But real nice paper. And also have a deluxe version, a humongous version, 14 by 8.5, hardcover. And these are looking good. I have a couple of small tweaks to do in them before I make a bulk order. And as you all know, I'm sure you know, that when you self-publish, the cost is really high. Unless you're ordering like 10,000 books or something like that, like a publisher would, you don't get a price break, not hardly at all. I'm going to keep the profit margin on these books razor thin. And by razor thin, I mean maybe $1 or something. I'm not looking to make a ton of money off of this. I want to get it into your hands. But it is going to probably be more expensive than some people want to pay for. You know, it may be, and don't quote me on this, the softcover book with the really super nice paper probably be $24.95. The large cover book, hardcover book, will probably be $44.95, somewhere in there. Anywhere there are 24 absolutely jaw-dropping anomalies in there, the very best of the very best. And I showed you one just a minute ago, the old goblin that y'all are familiar with. And that is an amazing anomaly, still one of the great classics. And every one of the anomalies in this book are going to stop you in your tracks. They're that good. As a matter of fact, if you're having a problem with people calling you a whack job, or people saying, why are you into this? All I see is rocks. You know, are you crazy? Well, this book should shut their mouths up, because even if they can't do X3D, and let's face it, anyone with normal 3D vision can do X3D. Kids can do it. Anybody can do it. But if they're too lazy or thinking up all kinds of excuses, oh, it makes me feel faint when I do, whatever it is, they can look at the flat pictures and they can see for themselves that there are artifacts on Mars that are evidence of a vanished civilization. So, end of story. I hope to put that up for sale pretty soon. Of course, those of you who have been supporters of the channel will get a profound discount, and which I'm very happy to give you for your support. I thank you very much. But anyway, we were talking about this. These slides I'm about to show you are from my Rami-Rama episode. I hope to get that posted this weekend. And as you know, a couple weeks ago, when we had a live hang, the last live hang, I was working on Rami's pictures, and most of them weren't done yet. And they're actually quite complex and to do, because here's the reason. Rami doesn't include a link with his images. He only includes the MSL number, the SOL number. And so I have to go into the mission and the SOL number on the analyst's notebook and look it up. And usually there are 300, 400, sometimes 500 data products that I have to go through. And good luck finding a particular anomaly. It usually doesn't happen because most of the anomalies are zoomed, magnified by the time Rami presents them. And so they are very tough to find. And for that reason, it takes a lot of time on analyst's notebook. And then when I can't find it, I have to settle with taking a screen capture from Facebook, which I hate doing, but by the time I get done with it, it looks pretty good. But I have a lot of work to do on those. I got them all done. And I'm going to show them to you in just a minute. Hey, look, we got the man himself, Chris Maroney, in the audience. Thank you for stopping by, Chris. And we're going to start with our Rami-Rama with the only one that I was able to find in the analyst's notebook, which is one he calls the trapezoid. And you can see that up in the upper left-hand corner. Planetary Protector is in the house, along with all the rest of you proud weirdos. I'm delighted to have you on board tonight. Anyway, as we zoom in on this, and this is one that I found and processed from the raw image, look at that structure. That looks like the side of a tank to me. It's not, of course, it's too small. But there's so much structure there. There's that right angle turn in the back, turning off to the left. You've got all those knobs and straight lines, and that recessed area on the right side, and what almost looks like a tread going around the front outside. Who knows what this is? I have no idea. And you'll remember from 2 weeks ago when we were looking at these that this next one wasn't quite ready yet. The 3D wasn't quite right. And this is a cylinder that Rami found. And as you can see in the zoom, on the left you see his little red arrow pointing at it. And on the right, it almost looks like it has, well, writing or tool marks or something going around the outside. And you can see that it's a cylinder. You can see inside of it. Then it has this funny little cup-like thing on the upper right. That is very strange. And then you recall that I had finished this one called the ant. Now, in all the other ones, I've gotten rid of the colored border. I believe I did it on this one because it was just too much. I couldn't fix it for 3D, but I could by doing this. Anyway, you got this thing that looks like a mechanical ant right in the middle of the image. We have no idea what it is, but when we zoom in on it, you can see, first of all, biologically, it's not an ant because it appears to have 4 body sections. And that last body section, the fourth one on the right, appears to have almost a mechanical leg or something coming out of it. And of course, that head looks like it has an eye on it. And all we can do is speculate. We don't know what this is. Crazy, crazy stuff. Okay. Let me see if there are any comments to catch up on. Very good. Okay, so here we're starting into the batch that I was unable to get finished for the live hang 2 weeks ago. And this is a something found by Brian Hopkins. Kind of like a cannonball. Now, we all know that Mars is covered with what they call blueberries. These are hematite spheres that absolutely litter the surface of Mars, and they come in a variety of sizes. Well, Dale, I'm sorry that you have to leave. I appreciate you coming back to see us. Happy birthday, and glad you're with us, man. Have a great evening. What intrigues me about this cannonball is that glint of sunlight coming off the top. I mean, that really makes it look like there's metal underneath, that it's polished. Or it could just be a hematite ball. And you'll call this one something that Michael Ivy found years ago. Twisted mech. Man, if that doesn't look like a mechanism, I don't know what does. That's so totally not a rock. I don't even know what to speculate about on this, what it might be. But it's something that doesn't belong, and it's something that apparently is not a rock. As I come back for just a minute here before we dive into the other images, I'm glad to know you're coming along, Inhabit Mars. That's a tough road to hoe, my friend, and just hang in there. Just stay with it, man. And you got prayers and good thoughts coming at you from all of us, and I'm sure from your loved ones and family and friends as well. So that's all very, very good. So as we continue with Rami's finds here, and again, let me reiterate that I have nothing but the highest respect for Rami Bar Ilan. And I wish we had better communication so we could I could actually go into the originals and process them and be certain that the processing that he represents is true. I have no reason to expect that it is not. He's always been very good about not exaggerating with a burn and dodge tool or with any other post-processing techniques to up the ante on the picture. But here's one I looked and looked for, and Micronova, thanks for stopping by. This is a devil face, isn't it? I mean, come on. Mouth, nose, eyes, horns, what might be ears, all in the right place. How does that happen? In natural erosion, how does that come about? Now, he rotated. The image originally was almost face down at a sharp angle. And I looked and looked and looked for this thing on the analyst's notebook and never was able to find it. Indeed, I didn't find any of the rest of them. So I'm trusting Rami that his processing is true and valid. And as I say, I have no reason to suspect that it's not. Here's another one. It's kind of a pickaxe. I mean, there's the handle and there's the head, right? That's crazy. Is it really a pickaxe? I mean, were they where they used some miner, dropped that eons ago during the cataclysm, and it's emerged from the sand up against a rock. It's handled perhaps fossilized. Because I'll tell you what, I can't think of any geological process that would give you what looks like a handle and then a sharpened, on both ends, head that's at right angles to the handle. Anyway, we have more to look at here. And but I just wanted to take a little break and let you know that the Rami-Rama episode will be coming up probably this weekend with analysis and commentary and all the extras that go into creating a video. And also, hopefully, within the next 10 days, I'll have a link for the book up for sale. And for those of you who might be interested in it, hopefully it's in time for Christmas. And for any of you anomaly hunting friends out there, make a great, well, not stocking stuffer, because you'd have to like curl it all up on the soft cover or saw it in half on the big, large hardcover one. But I'm pretty proud of it. 24 jaw-dropping anomalies, things that you can't argue with. Things that the average person will look at and go, are you kidding me? That's what these are. I looked through thousands of images and picked out the very best of the very best for this book. And it's just volume 1. I anticipate doing more volumes as time goes by. Let me catch up on some of these comments. And Micronova, sounds like you're new to X3D. Let me assure you that if you're experiencing any eye strain, any discomfort whatsoever, you're too close and you're trying too hard. Try backing off from the monitor or whatever you're using, and very gently relax your eyes. Don't look at the images. Ignore them. Stare at the horizon. Ignore the images and very gently cross your eyes. And you'll see those fusion dots at the top of the picture come together. And when you perceive in your peripheral vision 3 images, it's the one in the middle that's in 3D. All you have to do is lower your eyes, and there you are. There's a sweet spot in terms of your distance from a stereo pair, where it's absolutely the easiest to get X3D. Think of it kind of like a lever. A lever has to be, if you ever played on a teeter-totter when you were a little kid, if you moved the board too far in one direction, well, the kid on the shorthand couldn't get you up off the ground. But right there in the middle was a balance point where you could both have an even balance and jump up and down and do all that stuff. Same thing with your 2 eyes. There's a cross point, a parallax point, where it's a center of balance, where it's super, super easy to do. So just those words of wisdom. So let's go back to our Rami-Rama images and take a look at this long spoon. Tony is asking, What's the music in the background? That is called Garden Music by Senior Moment. It's at Incompetech, INCOMPITECH.com. And let me see if I can't look up the name real quick while you're looking at this. Okay, it's by a composer named Kevin MacLeod, or Kevin MacLeod. And man, he's got a bazillion terrific tracks there. And I just like this one because it runs for a long time and it's very relaxing. And yeah, Micronova. I try to improve these images. You know, Rami does a terrific job, but I do some final tweaking on these 3D images to make them just as clear as I possibly can. They're still not perfect. And by way of mentioning, let me tell you a real quick thing I went through just the other day. And I post flat images of some of my finds on the various Mars sites on Facebook. And I had one comment from a guy. He says, why are they so blurry? Why don't you use this software? And he very kindly left a link. So I spent about 3 hours the other day, 2.5 anyway, doing my due diligence, drilling down on various softwares that are said to clean up blurry images. There's Blurity, there's Photomar, there's a bunch of them. And I went to the trouble of downloading the DMGs and unpacking them and trying them out on the image in question. None of them worked. Not one of them. The good old standby in Photoshop and Topaz Adjust do a much better job than any software product that's out there. And good, Micronova, I'm glad to hear that. You know, the more you do it, the easier it gets. And when you find that sweet spot, that distance from the screen, from the images, it'll be so easy you just won't even believe it. Trust me, most people are delighted and thrilled to find how easy it is to do X3D. And before long, it's just absolutely natural. You just go bink and you're in it. You know, whenever you see two images, you'll automatically go into X3D mode. Anyway, we were looking at that long spoon, which I think is really cool. Now, there's another thing. How does that erode? Well, and Alan has just noted that focus magic is something. So I will have to check that out. And while we're even talking here, I'm going to make a note to myself to check out focus magic. Because anything that'll help make these images more clear, I want to know about. Okay, let's move on to a structure that Rami found. Now, how much more clear do you want to get? I don't know what that is. I don't see a doorway, but I see non-fractal angles and planes, right angles, a roof. What might be openings along the front of that square surface. Unfortunately, this was one of those screen door images. And I knocked back the screen as much as I could. I blurred it out and then sharpened it again. But it's still going to show up to a certain extent. And yes, Chris has already answered your question, Gentry, that can things erode in space without oxygen? Yes. Besides micrometeorite erosion, there is solar wind erosion. And then for those things, for example, like comets that are made out of ice, there's outgassing. And certain rocks that are on certain planets can certainly experience outgassing and get smaller or get pits and holes in them. And bear in mind that there's violent wind on Mars. They have storms where there are 200-mile-an-hour winds. Now, the wind is much thinner. The air is much thinner than the Earth's. And so that wind-driven sand isn't doing the damage it would do here on Earth in a 200-mile-an-hour wind. I mean, come on. If you were standing out in a tornado 200 miles an hour with wind-driven sand, it would strip the flesh from your bones in a minute or two. Nevertheless, it does cause erosion, and we often find what are called ventifacts, or wind-carved artifacts. We find them here on Earth, and we find them on Mars too. And there are lots of weird, almost supernatural shapes to be found as ventifacts on Mars. And so that's why I tend to insist on the non-fractal angles, because absent those, all you have is a ventifact. Now, I debated on doing this next one because the image was so blurry. But in 3D, you've all noticed by now that when you see something in 3D, your mind automatically clears everything up. Very cool thing that our minds do. Speak English much, Dave? No, not really. So here's his skull find. And you got to admit it does look like a skull. On the left side, you can get an idea of the size and relative distance, although I do not know how much Rami cropped the original image. See, this is why I like to find them myself, so I can show you, give you relative size, and get metrics if they're navcam images, so I can tell you the exact distance and the exact size. Unfortunately, we don't have that. Nevertheless, it does look awfully round, and it's got two openings in it that could be eye holes. An opening that could be a nose hole. I don't know. But it's a compelling image. And I felt that I ought to include it. Very good point, Don, about the temperatures and the oxygen content. I contend that the atmosphere of Mars, especially as you get closer to the ground, is breathable. And that if you are acclimated, let me put it this way. Years ago, I played in the presidential orchestra in Mexico. And we were based in Toluca, Mexico, which is at over 10,000 feet, a lot higher than Denver. And while I was there, when I was first there, man, I couldn't even walk a step without gasping. But inside of about a week or two, I could breathe just fine, and I was back to playing normally. As a matter of fact, I climbed the volcano Xanantecatl there, which goes well above 15,000 feet. Now, 12,000 feet, you need supplemental oxygen if you're a pilot. But I was able to climb Xanantecatl up to 15,000 feet and spend some time up there. Now, I'm not saying it was a picnic. It was tremendously difficult physically. But the point being, I believe you can breathe the atmosphere on Mars. And we know that the temperatures at the equator during Martian summer can reach 90, 95 degrees Fahrenheit. That's pretty warm. And they'll hover between 60 and 70. Now, we also know that they lied to us for years about the sky on Mars. And they put that pukey, reddish brown dust cover over every single image. And I remember at one point, many years ago, I was looking at a report of some, I think they were JPL guys, looking at images on their computers, and there was one computer in the background that had a Mars image on it, and it showed very clearly a blue sky. And also those of us who did color corrections and, using the color wheel on the rovers, and then using the native color correction in our various processing programs, saw that the skies are actually blue. And of course, in the last 3 or 4 years, they've started releasing all kinds of images with blue sky on Mars. We've been telling them for years that not only is there standing water, there's running water on Mars. And lo and behold, a couple of years ago, they told us, guess what? We think there might be water on Mars. Well, duh. What do you think the ice caps are made out of? Carbon dioxide and water. And where did the remnants of the ocean retreat as fluid dynamics and gravity dynamics and, just the general geologic dynamics of any rotating sphere dictate? It goes underground. So there's water underground, there's water at the ice caps, there's water standing in puddles. I have many images of that. And there are waterfalls and even rivers. Jimmy Roberts has one whole video where he details that. Now, obviously, people are going to say, oh, you're a Looney Tune. That's just sand dunes in the distance. It's nothing. But NASA has lied so repeatedly about what we are actually finding on Mars that not sure I'm in a position where I feel like trusting them about a whole lot else. And of course, with the work that Alan Walker is doing, stripping back the obfuscation layers and Perseverance, we can clearly see that NASA is not giving us the whole story. And again, that's why I focus on non-fractal geometry, because you can't hide it. You can rockify it, you can blur it, you can do whatever you want to it. You can paste sand over part of it, but you can't hide the math. It's still non-fractal, and that still means intelligent agency. Okay, back to Rami. Enough talking. So here's what he calls hieroglyphics. Are they really hieroglyphics? I don't know. And you're right, Inhabit Mars regarding plants. I would urge everyone to go to Joseph P. Skipper, his website. He has now passed away. But he was the first one. He is the dean, the anomaly hunter emeritus amongst all of us because he was doing it before anyone. And if you go look at his website, he has all kinds of MRO images, Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter images, of forests and lakes. And he even has comparison images of earthbound forests and lakes. And they're absolutely identical. How about that? Anyway, in this one, on the left, we have a kind of a context view with the carved portion, if that's what it is, in the background. And then the lower right, his screen door version, the raw image as he zoomed in. And then on the top, cleared up. And you can see that squares and lines, figures, carvings, what might be letters, I don't know. But clearly there's a lot going on there on that rock, and the rock itself is almost square. Not perfectly, but almost. So that counts for something, doesn't it? And now for our last Rami image. The robot. Now this is a classic find of Rami's. You can see the raw image over there on the right. And as you do the color correction and move in on it on the left, as Rami has done, you can see that it is apparently made out of metal, that the head and the shoulders, if you want to call them that, are like brass. They look like brass. The rest of the body is kind of this bluish, kind of gunmetal blue. Is it a robot? I don't know. Is it a machine? Is it a sculpture? I don't know. I absolutely don't know. All we can do is speculate. Okay, so that's what I've got for this evening. We'll do another quick run through on the slides again for those of you who maybe didn't catch all of them, and see if there are any questions. Apparently, not a whole lot of questions coming out of you tonight. Mostly just conversation with Chris. So I'm kind of the ugly stepsister sitting here in the corner. And that's fine. I don't mind it at all. I'm always thrilled to have Chris join us. So let's we'll start with the trapezoid. A ton of structure there, right? Just a ton. And then we looked at the cylinder, covered with markings or tool marks or carvings or I don't know what it is, but you can see that it's empty, that it's a cylinder. And then we had Rami's ant. An ant with 4 sections to its body instead of 3. Hey, Trumped Up, you made it. Oh, no, you've been in the hospital? August, oh, man. Died 3 times. Oh, my gosh. That's just unbelievable. That is, I'll bet you have a story to tell, my friend. That is incredible, and I'm glad you didn't leave us. Good gravy. God bless you, man. That's really amazing. Now here I zoomed in on Rami's ant. And you can see it kind of looks like a robot, doesn't it? A robot ant. Is that what it is? I don't know. Kind of has a mechanical leg on that section on the end. The ant head looks like an ant head with an eye. I don't see any indication of the other eye, nor do I see any mandibles unless they're hidden in the shadow there. So who knows what that is? Then we had a look at this kind of cannonball that Brian Hopkins found. It's pretty cool because it has that glint of sunlight at the top that kind of says that it's shiny. But then again, just a proviso that I've got a hoot owl sitting outside my window hooting away. Very cool. Anyway, we know that Mars is covered with hematite balls that they call blueberries. And they range from being very tiny to being sizable. Now, I have found spheres that are 6 to 8 feet across, and I forgot to include them in here. So I'll probably put them in the video. Then we moved over to Rami's Devil. And by golly, that really does look like a devil, doesn't it? That's crazy. It's got horns. It's got eyes and a nose and a mouth. It's got all that good stuff. Up next was Rami's pickaxe. Holy moly. How does that erode? The answer is it doesn't. At least under the erosion rules of geology that I understand. I'm not a scientist. Maybe there is a way for that to happen, and maybe somebody out there knows how it can. But to get what looks like a handle that's the same width all the way along its length, is cylindrical, has a tapered end on the left, and then it joins to what looks like a pickaxe head with points on both ends and at right angles to the handle. How does that happen? Then Rami's long spoon. That looks like some kind of tool. And of course you notice it's on a square block. And that block in back on the right, that looks interesting too. It's got right angles and it has, I don't know if that's carving on that or erosion. And the one to the left in the left corner, that's a block too. And again, I look and I look and I look to find these things of his on the analyst's notebook because he doesn't give us a link. And I couldn't find them. Yeah, that sure looks like a pickaxe to me. That long spoon. And then we went over to Rami's structure. Looks like a neat little cabin almost, only it doesn't have doors. No, you know, Tony, here's the sad fact. Tony says, I don't know how those at the top of NASA can keep the charade up with the denials and cover-ups regarding the things up on Mars and the moon. Surely their own families must be asking questions too. But guess what? I'll bet they don't. Dad just goes to work and comes home. He doesn't share anything with them. And if they do ask, they just say, no, that's just pareidolia. That's your mind playing tricks on you. There's nothing there. That's just erosion. Or in the case of the moon, that's just shape of the rocks. It's nothing. Well, trumped up, those might be stairs. I don't know. Then we had this one that I almost didn't put in all the hours of work on because it was so blurry, but still you can see pretty good that does look a bit like a skull. Then coming up, Rami's hieroglyphics. You know, years ago when I was starting, I marveled at Rami's processing of these images, which is really very good. And but I've finally arrived at a point where I can actually improve upon them. And that's not meant as a slam to Rami at all. I think he's an amazing guy. But there's always tweaks that you can do to make things a little bit more clear. And for our last Rami anomaly, try saying that fast 10 times, the famous robot. And that thing, especially the image on the left, really looks metallic to me. Anyway, that, well, let's see. I think my webcam disappeared. Don't know why. That's okay. We'll make it happen. I'll just be a floating head in the background. How's that? Crazy. Who knows? Who knows why these things just disappear? They're gone. It's gone. We'll use that one. How's that? My head's not in the right place, right? I'm right in front of everything. But that's what I got tonight, folks. Working hard on getting the video ready to go up on the weekend. Working hard to get these two versions of my first book, Martian Archaeology, back from the printers with the final tweaks in them. And of course, I'll be putting up a website as soon as I have it for Kim Carrier and his beautiful Martian models, anomaly models. I'll show you this one more time before we go. Let's see if I can get this to work. There it is. The goblin. And this thing is made out of stone. Seriously, it's like 5 pounds, 6 pounds, something like that. It's really heavy. A wonderful talking head. Thank you, Juan Carlos. And I'm going to take the Logitech. You know, my background just utterly disappeared off of the off of OBS. So I'm going to see if I can't move myself over. There we go. That's a little bit better. And Yeah, Micronova, the book is going to be cool. I promise you, I'm going to keep the price just as low as I possibly can. I'm not doing it to make money, as is obvious with my channel and the other things that I do. I want to get this information out, but I do have real upfront costs, hard cash that I have to lay out, and when you do your own book, it costs quite a bit of money for individual copies. So I'll keep it as low as I can. Hope to have it out in time for Christmas. So this is your buddy Dave over MarsX3D. Stay safe, stay weird, and be well. Bye for now.